Hello everybody, this is Rick Uzzi. It's Tuesday, it's 3 o'clock. That means it's Tech Tuesday. And today I'm going to be talking about IPTV, OTT, AVOD, SVOD, FAST, all kinds of acronyms these days. So I'll be talking about TV, kind of the changing landscape of that, and what that means to broadband service providers and specifically pay TV providers. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Rick Uzzi with Z-Quorum. So obviously TV has changed a lot in the past, well, let's say decade. It's kind of started, but I mean really the acceleration has been the last couple of years on what's happened with TV. And I remember writing blog posts 15, 20 years ago about cord cutting and when would that start to hit. And I always thought it would be around now. I thought people were worried that it would be like years ago, and what was preventing that, I think, was convenience. People could stream stuff, but it wasn't easy to get stuff to the big screen, and a lot of that's changed over the last few years. That's really what's driving this, where consumers now are getting their video differently than they used to. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm also going to demonstrate a IPTV product that we have that I'll show you right on the screen here, a live shot of that. But I wanted to talk a little bit first about some of the statistics on this. So just as we see what's been going on, some of these numbers are a little bit older, but they still apply. So in 2019, 6.3 million people had cut the cord on cable TV and satellite, and opting instead for internet TV and streaming services. So we have seen cord cutting increase. It's not complete yet, and I don't think it will be anytime soon, if ever. But a lot of people have cut the cord, and a lot of this tends to be people who were, maybe seeing price sensitivity, maybe budgeting, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of cord neverers as well, people that never had a cord. So these are kids that grew up maybe having cable TV in the home, but then they moved off to college. They didn't have the money to have cable TV, so they were doing everything on their phones, and they just never get around to getting it once they graduate. So we're seeing some of that as well. More than 55 million subscribers will cut the cord by 2022. So this is showing, again, some older numbers, but I think this trend is looking like this may be the case. So let's say by 2022, 55 million cutting the cord. There are just some traditional providers that are now offering IPTV and OTT, including AT&T TV. They've been doing that. You've got Xfinity Flex, you've got Spectrum TV. We see T-Mobile T-Vision on here. That was one when I created this slide not too long ago. That was a provider that was just getting started, just going to be getting off the ground, but that is no longer. They have scuttled that service. When MobiTV went into bankruptcy, T-Mobile was one of their customers, and I think they made the decision at that point that they were just going to drop their TV offerings. So now they're reselling a couple of other providers. I forget who, but they're basically replacing what they're going to be offering with existing streaming providers. And I think the writing was on the wall for them. They had made some bad decisions as far as programming bundles, and they were getting pushback from some programmers and pricing, those kinds of things. So they decided that was a good time to get rid of that. And MobiTV, I think, pushed them over the edge on that. Consumers rate their video streaming by different parameters here. You can see cost is a big factor. So a lot of times when people do get a streaming service, especially if they're cutting their pay TV service because of cost. Now, what's been interesting is a lot of people cut this early on and maybe went with something like YouTube TV, which at the time was $45 a month, and now YouTube TV, it might have even been $40. YouTube TV now is $65 a month. So they've seen their prices increase, kind of like they were getting from the traditional pay TV providers, kind of those increases, maybe as programming costs went up. YouTube TV really bumped their price up, as did some others. So cost is less of a differentiating factor now, but it's still important to consumers. Ease of use is important, which is, I find, kind of interesting because me, an old timer, for me, ease of use is picking up the remote, pointing at the TV, and channel surfing. But these, again, are folks that grew up with mobile devices in their hands, and they're used to navigating that, and they like to watch what they want to watch, when they want to watch, on a device they want to watch. So they find ease of use important. Variety of content, again, you get a lot of content on a traditional linear pay TV offering, but with streaming services you can get a lot more. In fact, there's providers now obviously that are on the traditional linear platforms like Discovery and Paramount, where you can get that content on a pay TV offering, but then if you get their streaming option, you can get additional stuff, which is why they call it Plus, right? So you've got Discovery Plus, I think it's Paramount Plus. Streaming quality is important, obviously, so people need a good broadband connection. So that's important for broadband service providers, communication service providers, that you are providing the avenue that they can get their streaming TV, even if they don't get pay TV from you. And loading speed kind of goes along with streaming quality. They want to make sure that there's no low latency and they have good service. Global streaming market is supposed to be $184 billion by 2027, so you can see why there's lots of these content providers that are jumping into that. It was $42 billion in 2019, so you can see that that's going to increase, and they're saying 20% per year to reach that by 2027. This is interesting. So the average number of subscriber streaming service subscriptions is 4 per household, and we see that here in my household. It might even be 5 if I counted them all. So people are, and we have traditional pay TV, so people are adding more and more streaming services, and this is giving them some subscription fatigue, because as they add more services, again, they keep seeing that price go up and up and up on what they're paying for their entertainment. So they're seeing things be comparable maybe to what they were before, but there's an average number of 4. A lot of people have more than that, especially as, again, as these new streaming services launch, and you've got that fear of missing out. So, you know, Disney Plus comes out, and it's like, oh, I've got to watch The Mandalorian, and I've got to watch all the Marvel stuff, and then Discovery Plus comes out, and maybe your wife needs to see Home and Garden TV shows and need to go back to the beginning of time to watch all that stuff. And not being sexist there, it's just in my household. We got Discovery Plus because my wife wanted to see all of those things. So subscription fatigue is starting to set in as people have more and more subscriptions that they're juggling and paying for. And here's a few COVID facts, but here first on connected TV devices, users watch 93 plus hours per month. And that was from a Fubo TV 2019 cord-cutting trends report. And as far as COVID, 30% of females and 33% of males were spending more time on media streaming devices. 54% of internet users are watching more shows and films on streaming services due to COVID-19. And if you're a broadband operator, you've noticed that. You've seen that your bandwidth has really spiked during the pandemic. Other streaming services like Disney Plus saw 4 million first-day installations, and they ended their first day with 10 million subscribers. Amazon's Fire TV and Roku altogether accounts for more than 80 million streaming households in the US. So there's obviously a lot of activity on the streaming side. But cable and satellite are not dead. There's still a lot of people out there that are keeping their pay TV. And for broadband providers, if you're a cable TV provider, you still have subscribers. You may not be happy about having them sometimes with the way programming costs are going up and the cost of providing that services. There's very thin margins. But there's also the option of IPTV that a lot of traditional pay TV providers, cable providers, for example, who are using your standard QAM kinds of cable TV are now looking at IPTV to try to reduce their costs and provide a little bit of flexibility in what they're offering. So people will continue to cut the cord, and maybe, especially for maybe traditional pay TV and satellite TV. Satellite TV is especially vulnerable, but there's still options out there for you to be able to maintain your pay TV subscribers, maybe through an IPTV offering that is going to be a little bit more reasonably priced. To give you an idea what some of these acronyms are and what they all mean, so you've got SVOD, that's subscription video on demand. So that would be the services that you pay a monthly subscription for. There's no ads like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, so you can watch and binge TV. You can watch like 10 shows in a row and not see a single ad. And they do tend to post those all at once. At least they used to. There's some changing going on there. So they used to put up like a whole season of Stranger Things, and then you could watch 1 through 10 or however many episodes there are. You'll notice now some, like Disney Plus and even Netflix is doing this on some, where they're releasing them not all at once. And I think part of that is to try to keep the video subscribers on their service. So if you put it all out there at once, a person binges the whole season of Stranger Things, then they can switch to something else. So they can drop your service and they can switch to Amazon Prime and watch some shows on there. So they're trying to keep these things, that word of mouth on these shows and the anticipation of waiting for the next one going, so people maintain their service. They need to keep the eyeballs. Because one of the things about these services, one of the things that customers like, is there's not any kind of a contract, so you can go month to month on these things. That's one of the reasons that people do sometimes drop their pay TV service, because it comes up on that 1 year or 2 year period, maybe when people were getting a discount, and it's like, okay, time to re-up. And well, I don't want to pay this much. Okay, well, we'll give you the same low rate again, but you got to sign up for 2 years. Well, people are tired of that, especially with so many options. So need to keep that in mind. Transactional video on demand, that would be like pay-per-view that you would have, traditional pay-per-view, but in this case it's over-the-top internet, like through Google Play Video or iTunes, where people can just watch one show or one movie and then they pay for that. Ad-supported video on demand, that would be like Hulu, the ad-supported version. And then there's a new thing people are calling FAST, or free ad-supported TV. That would be like Pluto TV, and I think Peacock has got something like this, where you don't pay for it, but like your over-the-air TV that you used to have, it was free. So you'd watch commercials, it was free, and you'd watch commercials in between, during the programs. So a lot of people are starting to gravitate to that, again, because of subscription fatigue, and they're watching their bill go up, and they're just looking for the most that they can get out of their entertainment dollar. And ad-supported video on demand has been growing quite a bit, especially, again, at this FAST version of that. And then just another term is vMVPDs. So a multi-channel video programming distributor would be your traditional pay TV provider, like a cable TV provider, DirecTV, AT&T, I forget the name of their service that they had prior to that. But so that would be a MVPD, and the V in front of it is virtual. And that's an over-the-top offering from people like YouTube TV, and then the Hulu No Ads TV, Sling TV, where it looks like your standard linear cable TV option, where you've got live TV and you've got a guide, and you can see what's on playing right then, and you can click and watch it. So that's how YouTube TV launched, and there's others that are doing that. And that's very similar to what an IPTV offering would be from a broadband provider. Some other kinds of newer figures here that I just pulled off of the internet here recently. So new streaming projections, 1 billion users globally in 2021. So it's a lot of eyeballs. Virtual MVPDs, what I was just talking about, will account for over 43% of the pay TV market by 2024, Park says. So again, that's people looking for a linear pay TV option. So they want something that looks like maybe what they were used to before, that gives them lots of live TV options to watch right then, a guide to look through, kind of, again, ease of use, convenience. We look at that guide and say, yeah, I want to watch this right now. There's something, I don't know, I enjoy that, channel surfing and seeing what's on. And then another bit of information that's pretty interesting here, 60% of American households have both pay TV and streaming subscriptions. So again, people, even when they get these streaming subscriptions, they're not necessarily cutting the pay TV, they're augmenting it. So they've got their pay TV, and everybody's talking about some program on Netflix or Disney Plus, and it's like, okay, well, I'll get that too. And then they pay, $9 a month or whatever the fee is, $15 a month if they have to get that. And they may drop that. They may watch that program. Again, they may binge watch it or watch the full season of that. Then they can drop that, and they still have their traditional pay TV that they lean on for the rest of their entertainment. So that's an interesting little fact there. So IPTV, again, is similar to this vMVPD, where you've got live linear TV. It's provided by the operator. So the difference between this and a vMVPD is that generally you've got control over the network. So this is not something streaming over the top. This is something that you are streaming over your network. The content is controlled. It needs to be controlled if you're going to be able to offer the content. So this is another option that can provide a pay TV offering that can have less cost for you, both on the head-end side as well as on the end-user equipment side. And it provides kind of a built-in convenience for the end user as well, for the subscriber. So we do have an offering, and we've got an internet TV offering that I just wanted to tell you about and show real quick. So our IPTV solution has national video and local content management. So we actually provide the content. So that's a nice thing that you don't have to have. You can avoid all of the contractual arrangements of having to get content, and then the renewing of that content sometimes when you're negotiating, and it's like, oh, I'm going to lose this particular channel if I don't, they're raising the price and I have to accept that. So we handle all of that. So the content's already there. And that's both local channels, which sometimes can be a challenge, as well as national channels. So it's a cost-effective TV alternative that you can provide, gives your customers a lot of control on how they watch TV. You can white label it, so we can brand it so that it looks like it's yours. Much less costly in the head end. There's just a few racks of, not a few racks of equipment, much less equipment. I don't know all the details, but we could certainly have somebody answer that for you as far as what equipment you would need, and that's basically encoders and things to ingest the content and be able to distribute that over your network. And again, no programming contract renewals that you need to deal with, so this can make it a lot easier. So if you're already offering pay TV and you want to maybe switch to something that's less expensive, or I know there's a lot of people out there that are brand new to the internet business. You could be an electric membership co-op, you could be a municipality that's starting to offer internet, maybe you've got some RDOF funds and you want to provide services over that connection. This is something that you can do and get in the TV business fairly easily, and again, reasonably priced. Some other things, you don't need a set-top box. You can provide something, so this would work on a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick or over a Chromecast, so you could just tell your customers what devices it works with and they can bring their own device, or if you wanted to, you could provide something like a Roku box to everybody if you wanted to have that. Operates on as low as 2 megabits per second. We'd say on a big screen TV, maybe 10 megabits per second, so it's not that much bandwidth that it uses. There's a cloud DVR and API integration that allows you to bill the end user, so everything's kind of in place for you there. We have different programming tiers that you can provide. There's a lifeline, and that would be local channels plus a few very basic channels that you would offer people just as a lifeline service. Then there's the standard basic, that's a popular one with a lot of the popular national channels. And then there's expanded basic if people want to add ESPN and Fox Sports and stuff like the Cooking Channel, Turner Classic Movies, Bravo, Telemundo. All that goes in expanded basic. And then there's a premium tier which has Showtime, the Movie Channel, and Stars. There's no HBO, but then again there's HBO Max, so there's no reason to put it in there. If somebody wants HBO, they can go get HBO Max and you get that. So. And then we also can provide tech support for this, so you don't need to worry about supporting the end user. We can provide support for the video service, and in fact, we can provide all kinds of support if you wanted to. We don't just do IPTV support. We can do support for the internet connection, for their email, home networking and security suites, commercial kinds of accounts, voice over IP, or even POTS service. We can provide technical support for that. Nice thing about that, especially with the internet connection and the TV, is that there's none of this finger pointing going on and who's at fault. We'll obviously troubleshoot both of those things. We troubleshoot the internet connection and we see if there's anything going on with the TV. And your customer's just calling one place and they're not getting referred somewhere else, unless we need to refer them to you. So we would do that obviously if it looks like everything is on their end is good, but it looks like it's maybe something in your network. But other than that, we're taking the call from start to finish. So I was going to show you, by the way, if you're interested in this, I'll bring this up here again in a second. You can go to zecorum.com/IPTV to learn more. You can email us at info@zecorum.com, and we'll be happy to provide any information that you want. We can set up a trial so you can check it out yourself. But I was going to show you now what this looks like. For example, here, this would be live TV. I'll go ahead and just unmute that.
Forth impacts your relationship with her, and she's
so
your
this
rock,
is
and she has
my
your back,
local
and now you're not
ABC
communicating
affiliate,
with her.
Channel 2 here in Atlanta. So this is an
Yeah, that's the
example
key.
of,
I did not.
hopefully you can hear me over the volume. I think you can.
Man cave, my cave
so this is an example of what a local channel would
look like. When I began to feel bad, or I had these negative
TV,
thoughts,
like I say,
I simply just withdrew further.
This is playing on a laptop, so this
I don't think
this is what it would look like if I was playing this on a PC or a laptop.
I felt like
also,
I have to fix this. I have to fix this by myself.
Stream this,
so I didn't reach out. I didn't know how to reach out to her, and I really don't know how helpless that made her feel. That's something that I hadn't talked about with her, but it's horrible.
Let me type the number up there.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. Coming up, Chris thought he'd overcome the midlife.
No, it didn't. So, and here's an example of Showtime. And of course, that's the guy that I'm making into content. Full size, just like that.
Never.
And go back to the guide.
What are you doing coming over here unannounced?
There's a previous channel.
You get
look at
a
that.
better place. Except
so,
now you have uncontrollable body movements
here.
called tardive dyskinesia, TD.
So you got your traditional
And it can seem like that's all people see.
And whoops, I just paused it. Pause and then play. So that's what it looks like
for mental
on
health can cause abnormal
laptop,
dopamine signaling in the brain.
Also,
while how it works is not fully understood, Ingrezza is thought to reduce that signal.
Pull up my phone.
Ingrezza is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with TD movements in the face and body. People taking Ingrezza can stay on their current dose of most mental.
Now you got all kinds of audio coming at you, so I muted that other one. But you know, there's this is ESPN right now. I'm watching. I don't know what I was watching Georgia beat somebody, Mississippi in basketball just a minute ago. So, oh, there you go. So let's see. So Georgia's still winning. So they were up by 10 earlier, but now they're only up by 3. So anyway, that's what it looks like on a phone. And oh, if you saw that, hold on. And you can see, you can see up here in the corner, you've got the little cast icon. That would be, I've got a Chromecast on a couple of my TVs, so I can cast this right to the TV, and it looks just like any other service. You've got the guide, the menu you can pull up with the guide. Very similar to you know, what we were looking at on the laptop. Very similar to a DirecTV guide. And then again, just expand like that. So. And we'll just turn that off. So as you can see, it's very convenient. It is, let me put this back on. So if you have interest, you can go ahead and just look at that information right there. If you have interest, so just go to zecorum.com/IPTV and info@zecorum.com, and we will be happy to talk with you. So hopefully that information was helpful for you, especially you know, what's going on with the video market. If it was, please give me a thumbs up on the video. And if you're not already subscribed, I talk about various things every week. It could be one of our products, but actually quite often I'm not doing that. I'm doing something industry related. This was part industry, part product, but it could be regulatory, industry related, stuff on DOCSIS, whatever. And I do that once a week, 3 o'clock every Tuesday. So go ahead and subscribe, click the little button, and you'll be notified when I'm live. And I will not see you, don't plan on it, I will not see you next week because Tech Tuesday and me are going on vacation next week. So I will see you the week after that. So thanks a lot for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.